week on Marketplace Middle East, unlimited potential. I travel to the oil fields of Iraq, meet the early movers in a market some say is still in its infancy, even 10 years after the war. And beyond oil, a growing economy has given life to the food and beverage industry. We look at how local investors are grabbing a piece of the pie. Welcome to this edition of CNN Marketplace Middle East. Iraq has suffered for years from war and economic stagnation. Investors are hoping that the security situation will stabilize. This is an economy of roughly 33 million people. The IMF projects it will expand by 9% this year and roughly 8.5% in 2014. But that's coming, of course, from a very low base. Iraq says it has the world's fourth largest oil reserves, and the International Energy Agency predicts production will double by the end of this decade. That would generate $200 billion of revenue a year. But violence and a lack of security can jeopardize all of that. As the country continues to face unrest, Iraqi officials are hoping that an abundance of oil will keep investors flowing in for years to come. The energy sector itself has been transformed over the last 10 years, especially in the north, where investment laws are much more transparent. I traveled to the region to spot the early movers and see why the super majors are eager to plant their flags there as well. The rolling hills of northern Iraq helped the Kurdish region earn the nickname as the Switzerland of the Middle East. But beneath the greenery lies an abundance of black gold.
I think Iraq is the last untapped resource of low-cost oil and gas left in the world. Everything else is now Arctic or deep offshore.
The potential bounty brought the Jaffer family, Arab Iraqis originally from Baghdad, back into the country for business for the first time in 4 decades.
Here in Iraq, we've only drilled a couple of thousand wells compared to about 40,000 in Saudi and over 1 million just in the state of Texas.
The natural gas, pumped through a 190-kilometer pipeline, supplies power for the region's 2 main cities, Sulaymaniyah and Erbil. It may be boom time here in Iraq and energy control panels like this one here in the Kurdish region, but it's also a game of catch-up after nearly a quarter century of conflict. Todd Kozel is a second-generation oilman from the United States. He started drilling at the Shaykhon field 3 years ago. It is 10 times bigger than he had ever hoped for.
Shaykhon is the largest discovery in Kurdistan. We got very lucky with our exploration. It is a field that's estimated to have 13 to 15 billion barrels of oil in place. It is a massive discovery.
Kozel, like many others, believes the Kurdish region alone could have 40 billion barrels, meaning a similar size to oil-rich Libya. Gulf Keystone and Crescent Petroleum were the early movers, but the U.S. oil giants ExxonMobil and Chevron are not far behind. And of course, there's some pipeline politics at play here as well. The federal government's resisting seeing the larger deals being done here in the Kurdish region. In fact, the Prime Minister, Nouri al-Maliki, suggests if the super majors want to come up to the north, they have to risk being cut out of the giant fields of southern Iraq. Oil executives say this infighting between Iraq and Kurdistan, which is a semi-autonomous region, is holding back investment. Iraq planned to see a 4-fold increase to 12 million barrels a day by 2017. It downgraded that number to 10 million by 2020. But the International Energy Agency says it will be closer to 6 million.
It's really very much in its infancy.
Majid Jaffer says uncertainty is leaving huge swaths of Iraq unexplored.
But there are over 300 structures in the western desert of Iraq which are not even drilled yet. So actually the exploration and development of the Iraqi oil and gas sector is in its infancy.
And why Iraq, 10 years after the fall of Saddam Hussein, will remain an energy man's priority for decades to come. The International Energy Agency says that the Kurdish region is already producing 675,000 barrels a day, and it's just warming up. But it's not all about energy. When we come back, from real estate to restaurateurs, those who are taking advantage of the boom time in energy to set up their own businesses. When Marketplace Middle East continues. infrastructure to tourism. While the global players hesitated going in because of the overall security situation in Iraq, the regional players and local players have jumped in with both feet, as Arwa Damon reports.
Flanked by five-star construction lies not Burger King, but Queen, PJ's Pizza, and rather than Costa Cafe, it's Costa Rica. Serving blended coffees mostly imported from Brazil and Africa. Ahmed Agha, a business consultant, was part of the initial project a few years ago.
In the beginning, I approached Costa Coffee, I approached Papa John's Pizza, and Dairy Queen. We had verbal approval from them, but all of a sudden they changed their mind. They say the area is not safe, we can't come.
Their loss, others gain.
I was expecting that within 2 years the business will turn profit, but apparently within the first year, within the first 6 months, it started booming, and in the first year the business was made its money.
While Iraq's autonomous Kurdish north does hope to eventually bring in the popular American brands, there are plenty of others jumping in to fill the void. Par for the course with fast development, so too is the mushrooming of medium and smaller industries. Initially, it was just those with the big bucks who were willing to take the risk and invest. And as those gambles brought in big earnings, the industries around them developed as well.
Smaller enterprises are now coming in due to the different potentials that are raised. And the tourism, we have constructed many five-star hotels that created many different and smaller businesses for those who are supporting these markets.
When compared to the rest of Iraq, this region is stable, viewed as less corrupt and more transparent when it comes to business deals. And Kurdish officials say they encourage private investment and need it. The KRG, the Kurdistan regional government, receives 17% of Iraq's oil revenue, all of which officials say goes towards operational costs and some infrastructure.
It's a gorgeous Friday, a weekend here, and throngs of people are out in this park right underneath Erbil's ancient citadel. A few years ago, this did not exist, and creating it, along with the restorations being done to the historic bazaars on either side, a government project. But when it comes to the vast majority of development that we're seeing throughout the region, the government says it's relying mostly on private investment.
It even, for example, years ago, privatized power. Most areas have 24 hours of electricity, whereas in Baghdad, it's 2 to 6. Among the newer massive private investments at a price tag of around $100 million, what will eventually be a sprawling resort, already boasting Iraq's first such cable car, intended to be a hub for all sorts of winter sports, which will also pave the way for other enterprises. Iraqi Kurdistan's landscape continues to morph and change, and with that, opening doors for the not-so-lavish players.
As Arwa noted, this expanding economy is creating opportunity for those willing to take on risk, but it also creates some challenges, especially in the housing market. The planning ministry says they need to expand housing units by 20% over the next 3 years to meet demand. In the meantime, prices are skyrocketing. We speak to one local developer who's trying to bridge the gap between demand and skyrocketing prices.
My name is Dean Michael. I'm the chairman founder of the company. We found that Erbil is the most suitable place to start such a project simply because of the safety. We started with affordable housing units, starts at $70,000 US. As the market grows, prices went up. About 80% of our clients are local people, and we are targeting local people. Kurdistan is going to be modern now, and we are helping to modernize life. So this is very popular. They would love, the housewife would love to see covered fridge this way. First time we introduced into the country, this is suspended rubber wood staircase. Kurdistan is rapidly and exponentially growing, especially after the discoveries of the natural resources of oil. And I believe that we will be comparable to modern countries in about 10 years' time.
A taste of the construction boom, especially in the city of Erbil within the Kurdish region. For more about the program, visit our website, cnn.com/MME, and you can check us out on Facebook as well and share your comments about the program. And that's all for this edition of CNN Marketplace Middle East. Thanks for watching. I'm John Defterius. We'll see you next weekend.